Not most important.
Yeah, but that one's gonna
You
go
guys
on.
are important, Facebook Live.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Frank, James, Judy, Erica, Jeffrey, Steven. I appreciate all you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
And the show's about to begin. I'm not going to talk while they are.
Is it on?
We're on. We're ready to go.
Awesome.
This is the Wizard WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us today at Wizard the Alliance 98 co-founders, David Rojas Jr. and Joseph Cerda. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. So first of all, let's tell our listeners a little bit about the Alliance 98.
Yeah, so again, thank you so much for having us, Trudy. We started TA98 in 2017 with a one-day event passing out suits to 70 young men in the community of Little Village. And since then, we've grown now to serve more than 400 young people throughout the entire Chicagoland area by providing them with suits and workforce development skills. And so we are a nonprofit social enterprise that aims to tackle on pretty much the unemployment rates through entrepreneurship. So that's kind of what we do.
Have you kept in touch with the young men that you have helped, at least some of them, to see how they have progressed with your help?
Oh yes, we have great relationships with a lot of our youth, and Joseph is actually one of our participants who went through the program and is now on his way to building his own business. And I think it just speaks to the testament of the need of spaces that, again, very similar to what you're creating, these platforms for young people to share their voice and have the opportunity to discover their passions and their interests. And so today we actually have a participant here with us.
Very successful participant. You're using what skills are you using in your enterprise?
Yeah, so when I met David, I was really into, and still am into, photography and videography, and storytelling in general. And so when I met David and decided to go through the program, I was basically brought on as a videographer. And the great thing about the program Suited for a Cause is that you can have any role within the program and still be a participant. So even the mentors that are brought in are part of the program because they're helping students. And so even though I was mostly recording, because I was there every day, I participated in the activities as well and actually mentored students myself as well. And so now I'm using a lot of my media skills, so photography, videography, a lot with the camera. But David has coached me to the point where I'm actually becoming more of an account manager now, where I'm actually reaching out to different clientele in Chicago, other nonprofits, meeting them for coffee, just getting to know them as a person, and seeing if, how we can work together.
How do you find your mentors?
That's a really good question because honestly, I think that's something that a lot of young people struggle with. I know a lot of them don't even know what a mentor, really is. My mother, and my parents, they're both like my mentors from day one. My family as well. And the moment I found David, when I was connected with him through a mutual friend, I don't know, there's just a certain motivation that people come with. Like David had a certain drive, and he brought out a good side of me that I really hadn't come out before. And once I figured that out, I said, okay, I just need to keep on texting and calling David and see what else he can do for me.
Yeah, I mean that's it, and it's very similar in like my case too. My first mentors growing up were people that were teaching me life lessons. So it just wasn't about like books, and it wasn't just about work, but it was more about like personal development and thinking for yourself and thinking about solutions to social issues that you saw on a daily basis. And so for me, it was one of those things that I realized in an early stage. I'd say in like middle school, where I started to see people who looked like me doing phenomenal work. And so instead of just being on the sidelines, I started to ask them questions, and I started to ask even more questions and be intrinsically motivated to just find answers and want to know the truth. And I think since then I've emailed people, I've knocked on doors, I've done everything in my power to continue to seek out help and find experts, find people who are way smarter than me, way more driven than me, to be able to compete against myself and become a better version of myself. But I personally, for me, and this is one of the things that we tell all of our young people, is that you have to find people who are willing to journey with you, who are willing to link arms with you and tell you what they did wrong, for you to learn about, one, what not to do, right, and what are the things that you should really be doing to strengthen your skill sets.
Mm-hmm. So your mentors, are they usually business people or just members in the community? What is the subset of people?
Yeah, I mean,
mentors.
so for me personally, they're in all different industries. For example, I have a mentor who's in the nonprofit sector, right, and who is very successful, has been able to scale different nonprofit programs, and so for any nonprofit question, I know who the expert is, right? For my financial planning and the management, there's a person that I go to that I trust, and so for every I say major part of my life, I have someone who I believe is an expert in that realm, and I ask questions in order for me to feel like I'm moving forward, because at the end of the day, this is to build generational wealth. Our communities have been historically disinvested in, and we need to understand that. And so how do we do that is by really just educating ourselves first, and then asking those tough questions. So again, I would say all of the above.
I agree that it's so hard to start a nonprofit, and you have done so. So, was there a mentor that helped you find initial funding for the Alliance 98?
Yeah, so I actually found myself in a college dorm when I was thinking about starting something of my own, and my junior year of college, I had this awesome opportunity to be part of the Davis Project for Peace Foundation, where they offered $10,000 to ideas and solutions to worldwide problems. And I collaborated with a friend. His name is Leong Lawson, who I met at Connecticut College, and so extremely blessed to have him in my circle as well. And through that opportunity, came back home with that project and turned it into an internship program for young people in my neighborhood. And that really sparked my whole interest in building a platform for young people in my area. And so that was really what evolved into T98. So when I graduated from college, I wanted to build something, and so Roberto Rivera was the mentor who carried really this sort of support that I had never received before, and he was the one that was giving me all these opportunities to really dive into my passion and really ask tough questions. So through his support, I basically have scaled this, but this is such a group effort that I just wouldn't be able to put credit in one person. But Roberto Rivera was the main person who really was that person that I, to this day, I look up to. And so he's now one of the top experts in social and emotional learning in the world. And so to have someone like him part of my life and in my circle, it's just, it really is humbling.
Was it your idea to focus youth on entrepreneurship. And what was your degree in colleges that you became interested in business?
Yeah, I feel like it was more just based on. It was just based off of all the pain that I had seen and had just been carrying throughout my life. Growing up in Little Village, I'm a son of immigrants, and so seeing how my parents, would work every single day. My friends' parents like working every single day. You walk out onto 26th Street and you see entrepreneurs everywhere, everywhere, and so although they might not have a formal degree, that doesn't mean that they're not business people. And so when I was in college and I had an opportunity to go to Connecticut College, a top school across the country, I took it upon myself to never forget where I came from and start something that really evokes like the hard work that our community is known for. And so I really focused on my Hispanic culture, my Mexican culture, my Spanish heritage, and focused on global community development research. And so my degree is in Hispanic Studies, with a concentration on global community development. And so my first real opportunity to do that was immediately after I graduated college. I actually was provided with an opportunity to go to the Big Island of Hawaii and put together a training for all youth mentors and youth workers, and worked closely with the community leaders in Kau and Pahala, and saw the real impact that social and emotional learning competencies really can provide for communities that are, again, historically marginalized.
So you were able to put your book learning into works instead of just like book learning on the shelf.
Absolutely. And like even prior to me graduating and doing that main project for the entire Big Island, I designed my own work study position at my school. And so instead of me working in, say, the cafeteria where I started my work study job 2 years in a row, like my freshman, sophomore year, it was extremely difficult because I was working in the kitchen, I was a dishwasher, and it just reminded me of how my father came to this country, and that was his first job. He was a dishwasher, so I found myself doing the same thing that my dad was doing, which again it just shows for first generation college students the amount of intensive labor that they still have to do just to be able to stay in college and persist and retain at the school. And so I have always found a way to innovate in whatever space I'm in, regardless of the circumstances. And I think that is what makes me me. It's just I'm very scrappy. I'm a maximizer of resources, and I always try to find the next solution to any sort of problem. And I think that's it's one of those things that I think my neighborhood has instilled in me is that grit, the resiliency, and all the different capitals that exist, from the cultural capital to the social capital to the linguistic capital that I possess, and a lot of our people in our neighborhoods possess. We just don't know, you know.
So among the young men that you have helped,
Yeah.
do you have any, or besides Joseph, that have the same grit as you,
Absolutely.
that struggle the same way, and are working like you do? Maybe you work with them and do pretty much the similar work.
Yeah. I mean, currently in a lot of my work as a success coach for organizations here in Chicago, I coach a lot of first generation college students, and we really do sit down and think through strategically what is the best decisions, like what are the best plan, what's the best plan that we can create in order for you to not only get your degree, but attain employment. Right now, we're looking at so many young people getting discouraged and not being motivated to get their degree because, quite frankly, the education system is broken. It's not tangible, and so
You're saying that a lot
Yep.
of college students that do get degrees, they don't find the job that they're looking for.
yeah, that's what's going on. I mean, when you look at the data, so many young people are in positions right now that are they're simply underemployed. I believe the last research was like 73% or like 83%. It was just a ridiculous like figure, and and so when you look at statistics, I mean that discourages you from even like trying to get the degree. If 70 to 80% of recent college graduates are underemployed, that means that you didn't need a degree to work where you're at.
So has TA 98 helped college students to actually get the employment that they're qualified for?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we continue to work for, is having those type of opportunities to work in a position that is at your skill level, or even just being given an opportunity to grow and learn as you go. We have been able to help young people be placed, find internships, find even entry level positions to save up your capital and invest in your own development. So we have been able to do that, and we want to continue to partner up with more corporations and more organizations to continue to, sit down with these organizations, these local businesses, and help create pipelines for a lot of these businesses. There's just
Could you give us some examples of the local organizations or businesses that are partnering with you to hire these youth?
Yeah, so for example, one of the biggest, say the most recent partnership that we had is with Roosevelt University, and the young people that went through our program called Suited for a Cause, which is an 8-week development, professional development program, where we equip young people with a resume, with their cover letter, customized suit, and at the end of the program, they have to put together a community project to implement all of the skills that they learned throughout the program. And that itself is a story that a lot of our young people are able to share in their interviews. And so, for example, I can talk about Eddie, for example, and I know Joseph has worked very closely with Eddie, which I think you're doing a recommendation letter for Eddie, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk a little bit more about like what he's doing and his goals. But right now, I mean, through a collaboration with Urban Alliance, Eddie is now at KPMG, which is one of the top companies in the world. And so for us to be able to have young people like that and support Eddie in multiple ways, I think it just speaks volumes to the collaboration piece, because it's not just us, it's a collaboration of multiple organizations providing resources for young people.
What are some examples of community projects that your participants develop?
Yeah, so I really want to pass over that question over to Joseph, because the first Suited for a Cause that was funded by the Chicago Community Trust, Safe and Peaceful Community Fund, that really opened up the doors for all of the work that we're doing. So all these philanthropists are coming together now and really looking at the underlying factors of why communities aren't moving forward. And it's, again, the funding it's not being distributed equally. And so Joseph, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the project that we did at La Vie de Park, and some of the things that went into that project.
Yeah, so that was actually the first culminating event that I experienced at Student for a Cause. So I've been through 4 of the cohorts where I'm recording, and so the students in that cohort organized a community cleanup event at La Villita Park in Little Village, where they had to invite their community members to go and clean up the park. And I think it was a Saturday. They had to go get food for everybody. Come up with the entire event together, and then they basically called Darlington, who owns a nonprofit who serves kids in Liberia, and because at the event they were actually collecting donations for his nonprofit. So as they were cleaning up, they were also asking for clothes to be donated to youth in Liberia. And so that one was amazing and pretty much opened the door to me for what the Alliance 98 really does. And since then, some other culminating events have been a panel discussion of entrepreneurs, people of color, who spoke to the youth at an art gallery about how to be successful and how to find their path to what it is that they want to do. And we had people, very young people from in college still to maybe about 26, 27, so a very young group of panelists. And then the most recent one at Roosevelt University was an all-women panel talking about equality for women, women's rights, and again how to shape your life to get to the path you want to go. So it's been very eye-opening, and again, speaking to Suited for a Cause and how changeable it can be and how flexible it is. My team now for my media company, we're actually developing a documentary that encompasses what Suited for a Cause is about, but that alone is our project for Chicago, because we're actually expanding it to talk more about the education system. And since we've been interviewing students from different schools, different public schools, private schools, we're getting insights from a bunch of different youth in a lot of different neighborhoods across Chicago.
You said that you've done some research about the problems in the communities that led to this lack of resources for youth. What are some of the reasons besides the obvious ones that you found? Just offhand,
Yeah.
because it's a good stepping off point for community-minded people like ourselves to focus on those problems in the community.
Yes, definitely. So, what we've really been finding is that communities in Chicago, especially communities that are not being funded well,
Yes.
the schools in those communities correlate to what's going on in the neighborhood. So if there's an impoverished neighborhood, a very impoverished neighborhood, the school is going to lack the resources to provide for those students. And so that's where we started, basically. And so we've been researching different systems to measure how successful a school is in different neighborhoods, and the most successful in the ones who are struggling the most. And we've taken the data from those points and are just correlating that to what's going on in the community, so that we can see how we can best help these students and to see where the money is going in the communities.
Mm-hmm. You mean the government money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this is I actually just pulled up our deck, which we talk about with an array of leaders throughout every type of industry that we're connecting with, and so some of the interesting facts are 30% of high school grads do not attend college and have no skills. 28% who attend college do not graduate, and then the actual number that we pulled up from the U.S. Department of Labor, 43%. So it's pretty much 1 out of 2, right? 43% of college grads are underemployed working jobs that did not require a degree. So if we combine all those statistics, out of 10 people, really 2 people get a degree and find a job.
Is that the U.S. statistics or Illinois? US.
So this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. Department of Labor. Yeah, and speaking a little bit more about the type of work that we're doing here in Chicago on tackling the joblessness and violence, because for us there is a correlation between employment and violence, and so 33% of all homicides occur in just 5 of the 77 community areas. And so within those communities, 85% of teens and 59% of young adults are unemployed. So you're seeing basically the effect of disinvestment. It's super clear. And again, the source here could be traced back to the Chicago Tribune, the report on youth and joblessness. I believe this was conducted by the University of Illinois at Chicago. So again, we're using the facts, we're using the data points that are available to us, and I mean, we're coming up with, again, solutions to this epidemic. I mean,
Are you able to work with any elected officials in better utilizing government funds toward what you want to do, how to help the community?
yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, one of the things that we are now doing is planning for 2020. And so in the next month, our team is going to be focusing
And
on
your team is
just that.
Who is
Yeah,
part of the
so
team?
so we're a strong cohort of 5 individuals currently who are putting together the new efforts to push the organization forward into 2020. And right now, that is literally what we are trying to focus on, is really tapping into the local government, the state. Definitely having to go to Springfield and talk to our state representatives to let them know what we're doing. I firmly believe that right now is the perfect time for organizations like ours to really mobilize even more young people, and continue to galvanize the support of adults. So this is why I'm extremely thankful for you, Bill, for you, Trudy, because like you've been able to set the groundwork for a lot of young people like us who are going to be stepping up and filling those shoes. Obviously, those are really big shoes to fill because of the amount of work that you do. But this is why we have to leverage technology. This is what the 21st century could allow us to do, is really tackle these social issues that just plague our
entrenched,
communities.
right. Well, do you have women or young girls that want to access the same resources that your young men are able to access? And then what resources do you suggest to them?
I absolutely love that question, because we were, when we started with our suits, it was so hard to find partners that were willing to link arms with us and provide us with women garments, and also cover the cost of fitting these young women, because of just the difficulty of finding these resources. We knocked on so many different doors, and so finally, again, the Safe and Peaceful Community Fund came through again and provided us with yet again another opportunity to outfit young people. And this time around, we made no mistake, and we made sure that young women got that they received a suit, that they received the same resources. And now, moving forward, we want to make sure that we provide equal opportunity for all of our participants. And so I want to pass this over to Joseph again, because that this last cohort, we saw some amazing things happen with our youngest members who were 15 years old. And putting events together is extremely difficult, because you have to reach out, you have to find sponsors, you have to find venue space. There's so many logistical things that you have to do to make sure an event runs very smoothly. And it's just amazing the power of young people. And so I just want to pass this over to Joseph, because I know it's actually familiar, because it's like also family to you. But yeah, go ahead and speak about that.
So I actually got my cousin Sienna into the program, and because she's very driven, she's been wanting to work for a while now, since she was 14. She's 15 now. She just really wants to get a job. And so, yeah, so I basically, exposed her to the entire program. And so what was amazing that happened is when it was time to actually go get the sponsorships, where the students either make calls, send emails, or walk into local bakeries, local restaurants to actually ask for sponsorship for our event, she took off. She launched into space with her skills. Seriously, she was able to get over $119 worth of coffee for the event. She was able to get cupcakes for the event. She and once she got the first one, she wanted to keep going. She wanted to meet up every single Saturday because this happened on Saturdays, our program, and she was just very, very ambitious. And so what stemmed from that was she wanted to give back to her high school, because in her high school she actually experiences, not her herself, but she sees a lot of fights in her school, a lot of violence within the school, which again correlates to the community because there's violence within that community as well. And so she actually is now starting a club at her school that emphasizes employment, where she's actually going to try to get jobs for her students, for her friends. And right now they're actually developing resumes every Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Has Sienna started a team to, because a person like her has a lot of work to do, and a team would help to get a lot of more work done. So how is she at that?
Yeah, so this whole club is part of her curriculum. Actually, she has to do a project for the semester, and so right now,
And what is her major?
She's in
Oh,
high
she's
school
in high
actually.
school.
Yeah, so
She's 15.
She's
Yes.
15. She's in she's a sophomore in high school.
Love it.
So, but she does want to go into music to kind of answer that question. But yeah, she's at the stage right now where she has the club approved, but she just needs to get the people who are dedicated to help her every Wednesday. And so I'll actually be visiting, on the Wednesdays that I can. But she has a solid group of 3 people right now who are
Students and an advisor?
students, actually just students, and an advisor that that watches over. But yeah, it's all student led.
Okay. So has her team been able to implement some of the work that needs to get done, like say go getting sponsorships and all that self-starting task?
Yeah, so she does have some more time to finish the entire project, but at the stage they're in right now is where they have to solidify their positions within themselves. So
I see.
the resume building is huge, because if she can land each of them jobs, that's already a big accomplishment. And then once
They're very young. They're like about
very,
15.
very young, yep.
Very
And
young.
and that's why she's also trying to target some of the seniors who are a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then they're coming up with the early stages of what their culminating event will be. So it's very similar to our program, Suited for Kazi.
Let's just a little advice on the side. Since she's doing that, I think that if she were to mention that in her college applications, she would be able to get into a really good school, because she's already starting something that a lot of college students do not do even after graduation.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, and I just love the fact that you bring that up, because when I met Sienna, she would get to a top premium school across the country if she puts action in her thoughts. And so shortly after, because she was part of the first cleanup, she went to the networking event that we had at EF downtown Chicago that was also put together by teens. She took it upon herself to start Suited for a Cause at her local high school in the Belmont-Cragen area. And I told her family, I was like, she is destined for greatness, just like all of our participants are. But I want to nominate her for Posse. As a former Posse alumni, I see her joining that network, and so when the time is
I know
right.
you mentioned Posse in the beginning. Just
Yeah.
for our listeners that
Yeah.
tune in later, what does Posse stand for?
Yeah, so Posse is actually, so it's not an acronym, so it's actually just Posse. So the Posse Foundation is it's an organization that provides young people historically who have been historically overlooked by top colleges, and they select students to go across the country and attend top programs throughout the U.S. And so I was privileged enough to earn myself that scholarship, and that's how I actually ended up at Connecticut College.
Is that a full ride
It's
scholarship?
a full tuition scholarship, yes. And so that scholarship, I will be recommending Sienna for her junior year of high school. And so just because of the amount of work and I mean, surely the potential that she has to reach her goals.
Mhm. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about the event that is coming up that you're collaborating with all the student media organizations at Northeastern, the Wizard, the Seeds, Que Onde Sola, and our newspaper, The Independent.
Yeah, so on Thursday, December 5th, we are celebrating cultural wealth and resilience of Las Americas and El Caribe by bringing together artists, musicians, poets, entrepreneurs, and activists from Chicago communities. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. The art reception is at 7 p.m. And the celebration goes all the way till midnight. It's $3 for NEIU students. General admission is $5. You can drink if you're over 21. It'll be hosted at Hairpin's Art Center at 2810 North Milwaukee Avenue, Chicago, Illinois 60618. And proceeds will be going towards TA 98 to continue outfitting and providing young people with opportunities to not only get a suit, but find employment that could lead into possibly starting their own venture.
How many of your cohort members were involved in putting together this event?
Yeah, so I mean, there is an array of organizations that are helping to put this celebration together. Las Americas para la Cultura celebration, again, would not be possible if it wasn't for WZRD Chicago radio station and Que Onda,
Sola.
is it Que Onda Sola?
Yes.
I'm just really humbled by the opportunity to even be here and to continue to do this work. So I'm just very thankful for all the partners, all the organizations that are putting this together. Northeastern Illinois University, big thank you and shout out to all your students doing some amazing work here on campus and throughout the entire city. For all the support, the unconditional love and like everything that we've been receiving, I just look forward to supporting in any way possible. Rogers Park hosts a monthly job fair that we are supporting with suit donations, and we will continue to do that as we continue to scale our nonprofit here in Chicago. And so, yeah, I mean, extremely grateful.
What is your next two phases of TA 98?
That's a big question. That's a big question. I mean, right now, like I said, we're in planning mode for 2020. There is definitely a ton of growth that we are making, but for 2020, we really want to be housed in a Chicago community. I think we deserve to be in a local neighborhood, to be able to bring young people into a space, have events, but most importantly, really, again, help young people find jobs and help mentor them through whatever phase they're currently in. If it's high school, if it's college, we really want to make sure that we have doors that are always open to young adults 16 to 24.
So right now you don't have an office space?
No, all of our work is remote. We have a ton of great partners from DePaul University, Roosevelt University, UIC, Capital One, been holding us down for a very long time, and so right now we have leveraged technology, we have leveraged peer work shared spaces, and we have made it work. Chicago Public Library, like, we have maximized our resources to make sure that we don't give up on the hope of being able to, again, tackle unemployment through entrepreneurship. And so the main goal right now, thanks to all of our donors, our sponsors, all the philanthropists that have been donating to our cause, we are en route to being able to have a phenomenal space that is catering to, again, 16 to 24-year-olds and even older folks in the house, right? But right now, our main focus is that 16 to 24-year-old demographic, and so 2020 is going to be a big year for us. And so we are in the planning phase and just making sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Thank you so much, David Rojas Jr. and Joseph Cerda for appearing on Wizard today to describe the Alliance 98, all the important work you're doing. And finally, give the listeners your contact information in case they want to ask you more questions.
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Joseph_096. And you can follow the Alliance 98 at the Alliance 98 on IG.
Yeah, so you can follow me on all social media accounts. Just look me up at David Rojas Jr. You will be able to find me there. And again, feel free to check out our site, www.ta98.org. If you're looking for some media services, you can also look that up on our main page. And if you would like to donate and sponsor a young person or a community project, you can also do that on our page as well at www.ta98.org. And
that could be in any amount.
Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, in the phase that our city is in, anything will support the positive development of young people and their communities. And so, again, I'm just very thankful. So thank you so much again, Trudy, for just for hosting us, for being so patient with us, and just making sure that we have this opportunity. And I really look forward to continue our partnership.
Thank you so much, David and Joseph. And thank you, listeners, for listening in. This is, again, WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM.
Good.